Good morning, everybody. Ian here with Redline, and I wanted to share with you one of the coolest additions for my shop here in a long time. That is the Crossfire Pro. It is a $4,300 4-foot by 3-foot CNC plasma cutting table. I'm really excited to have this thing in the shop. I'm going to put a link down below in the description to Langmeyer Systems website where you can see more about this unit if you're interested in one. And before I tell you, the table, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, show it to you in an action and why I bought it, I would ask, if you don't mind, click the thumbs up down below and like this video, as well as click subscribe if you want to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. Alright, so first big question here. Why in the world would I spend $4,300 on a CNC plasma cutter? And by the way, that did include the razor weld plasma cutter that you see right there. We go, there it is. Included the plasma cutter for $4,300. Why would I buy this thing? And the answer is, it can do what I can't. If I try and make two identical parts with some sort of a manual cutting tool, they're not going to be exactly the same. This thing will churn out the exact same part over and over again with a level of accuracy that I can't do, and it will make sure that my 90-degree angles really are 90 degrees. If I want 86.5, I can get 86.5 degrees. It will make sure that my straight cuts really are straight, and it can do what a manual cutter of any type cannot. So I'll try and give you an example of what I mean by this. If you have a look in my 67 Nova build here, you'll notice that I have a toe board in the car. I'm starting on the beginnings of the firewall on this car. If we go over here to my workbench, you're going to find that I have 3 other individual toe boards here sitting on my workbench. And each one of them is just a little bit different. So I started off and I drew one toe board in Fusion 360, which is the free software that comes with this system. And as you run off and you make a part and you put it in the car and you realize, you know what, this angle right here was not a perfect 90 like I needed it to be. It's actually 86.5. And instead of having to manually redraw this thing with a Sharpie, on a piece of paper, or on the metal all over again, I just pull up that, Fusion 360, I edit my degrees by just a little bit, put it right back into the plasma cutter, and before you knew it, I have another revision. Sometimes you have to go through several revisions, so at the end of the day, having the CNC plasma cutter make these things for me does it a lot more quickly, and in the end, it produces a better high-quality product. I do want to give props where props are due. The assembly of the Langmeyer Systems Crossfire Pro was really, really easy. Took about a half a day. And the reason it was so easy was because they gave you all of these little individual bags. And if you pull out some of these things and you have a look at them, here's bag number 25, pipe fittings, 1/4-inch NPT. So as you're going through the assembly process, they tell you, grab bag 25 or 43 or whatever it may be, and it made it really, really easy, so big thanks for them doing that. Now, I will tell you that in retrospect, spending the $400 on the torch height controller here was absolutely mandatory, although I didn't know that at the time when I bought it. So what it basically does is just raises the torch head up and down as it's performing the cut in order to keep the distance between the torch head and the metal at the exact distance that you want. That's particularly important because sometimes the metal will start warping as it's cutting and then picking itself up off the table, and you can actually watch that torch head move up with the metal as it changes in real time. So it's a really important feature. I'm glad I spent that $400. The one thing that I'll say I didn't care for about this table is the 2-piece stainless steel waterbed that comes with this table. Everybody online says that thing leaks. So I got the crazy idea that I would TIG weld right down the middle of this thing and join the two halves together so that it would never leak. What I didn't realize was that in doing so, I was going to warp the stainless steel waterbed so badly that it could never actually be used. So after I warped it really, really badly, I at that point built myself an aluminum waterbed out of 1/8-inch thick aluminum. I just bent the sides on it. I actually paid a local fab shop to do those bends because I didn't have a piece of machinery capable of that. And then I TIG welded the joints over here so it's watertight. I do want to mention that since I didn't want to drill holes into the waterbed and fasten the waterbed to the frame table, which is what they tell you to do with the stainless table, I instead realized, well, if that's the case, then my waterbed could actually shift and at some point fall and cave in and drop water on everything like your plasma cutter down below. So I just installed some little coupler nuts here on the edges of this thing that stick out just far enough so that the waterbed can't actually slide off the frame and drop anything. It hits those coupling nuts and it has no choice. It has to stop. The second modification that I did to my CNC plasma table was the shelf that you see down here below. I basically just welded pieces of 1-inch square tubing along to form a base, screwed some plywood to it, and then you can see over there that I mounted some casters to the base of my table. This basically just gives me a great big storage shelf down below where I can store anything such as my plasma cutter. It gives the table some more rigidity as well now that the base legs are tied together and all welded together. So in retrospect, I feel like that was a really good modification to my table. So there you go. That's the Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro. Again, I'll put a link down below to their website. For $4,300, I am really, really happy with this thing. I looked at buying one of these things a decade ago when there weren't any good hobbyist units on the market, and they were $20,000 and $30,000. I knew I was never going to convince the wife that that was cool, so I've wanted one of these things for years, and I've just never actually found anybody that made one at a price point where it was affordable for the home hobbyist. So I'm really happy with mine. It doesn't bother me a bit that I had to modify my water table because the thing was $4,300. You know, I've seen so many of these other things that are $25,000, $30,000. So $4,300, you just can't beat it. I'm really happy with it. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope y'all learned something. You guys have a great day.